right now is the time to fight for your lives or the life of your loved one.
I feel so strong of what this medicine is doing for me. And I said this in my previous interview back in September. And it's not a I think, this is a I know.
We've seen cases where people got better very quickly, but we don't know enough to say that they actually stayed better.
There were days where I felt like I did not have ALS.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
I knew that I did.
What was amazing was that we stopped progression of the clinical disease. At the very least, we had hoped that maybe we would slow the process. We actually stopped the progression of ALS.
Wow.
I know
Okay.
I would be in the ground right now if this medicine was not in my body.
Wow, in the ground.
So
that's strong.
this is what's keeping me alive.
Mr. Bedwell is doing well. He has not had any problems over the last 6 months. I do not notice any worsening as far as his strength is concerned, and continues to be stable.
While I was in trial, I believe that my ALS has stopped. Nurown is not a cure for ALS. Nurown is hope. All patients must be given the right to try Nurown before it is too late for them.
There was a recent trial that Michelle mentioned at the beginning of this that failed to meet its endpoint and was declared a failed trial, and yet had 35% of patients that had an objective response. As a practicing oncologist, if there was an oncology trial that had a 35% objective response rate, we would be rejoicing for a rare oncologic condition.
From January to January, a year ago I was at 34. Today I'm at a solid 36. So I've had, arguably I've had zero progression.
I wouldn't say better, but I didn't get worse.
Okay, right.
You know, I was still, I wasn't progressing so
That's
much.
incredible.
The disease on average was slowed by about 70%.
Put a number on that at the best point there.
No, I had zero progression in my right arm. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on this very final Friday night of treatment week. It's been a great week. We've had now 5 or 4 nights of learning the ropes, so to speak, about ALS and what could be done right now. If you are new to this terrible disease, and I hope you've watched the last few nights and tried to learn something. That's been our goal, is to try to educate people with ALS what could be and what absolutely should be in our world. That is access to new drugs. And I've got a guest tonight you're going to meet in a moment that, just like last night with AMX 35, the night before it with TRex, and then we started out on on Monday night with Craig Reagan. And I know everybody new to this, I would urge you, please watch tonight and have hope. There is hope in ALS. We are choosing, ladies and gentlemen, not to treat this terrible, terrible disease. This is a choice. We're making excuse after excuse, and which is the exact reason we chose the name for this group that we did. No more excuses. The bottom line is that we could make excuses until the cows come home, but it is time that 2021 becomes the year that ALS becomes treatable. I would say about a little over a year and a half ago now, somewhere in that range, I met tonight's guest. He and I talked, and we had a lot in common. And I don't think I've really met a more credible, honest person. There are certainly a lot of pals who fit into that criteria, but tonight's guest is awesome. Everybody knows who this is. And the reason I've asked people to come back like I did with Greg last night, and is so that you could see his change, or if there was any, since the first time we did our interview. Sadly, as time goes on, we continue to lose more and more people. I debated putting Dawn Bichelle in that opening video because, as you know, she's no longer with us. She was the lady in the video that said that she didn't get any better, but she didn't get any worse. She was in the Nurown phase 3 trial as well, and sadly had to make a tough decision earlier this year, very early this year, and that's unacceptable, and we must change that now. We can do that. So as I bring tonight's guest back in, please help me in welcoming somebody that we all know and that is as credible as they come in this trial and has had a fantastic result. He's been on national television. Let me bring him in now. Mr. Thurman Maynard. Thurman, how are you tonight, buddy?
Doing great. How you guys doing?
Doing wonderful. You know, bud, you've been a warrior for this disease now going on, how long? Over a year and a half. You were one of the earlier, well, I say earlier, people in the Nurown phase 3 trial. You were on Nightline. Why don't you just introduce yourself briefly for our new people? We have a lot of new folks watching or that will watch this over the next few weeks. Tell us a little bit about your story. Just give us the 2-minute version if you don't mind.
Sure. Well, guys, my name is Thurman Maynard. I've been battling ALS going on 3 years. I got diagnosed June 11th, 2018. Shortly after that, of course, everybody, just like myself, we was given no hope. And we was kind of down and out, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to live life to the full extent. So I started doing some researching and studying and seeing the ad pop up on my phone about brainstorm stem cell therapy going on in Massachusetts at MGH. So I applied for that and started that in January of 2019 and didn't look back. There's a lot of hope for ALS. We just got to keep our faith, keep our trust in God, and He'll lead us and guide us.
Absolutely. You were on national television. You were on Nightline, and that was an amazing, experience. And I know it gave a lot of hope to a lot of people. And they were supposed to have done a follow-up story on you, and did not. They had some footage that they shot of Matt Bellina that really could have been helpful to our fight. Why do you think, Thurman, that the media has been reluctant to take on ALS and tell the real story, the story of hope and the story of efficacy, the fact that there is hope for ALS and that it can be stopped in some people right now, like it could be today or tomorrow if we wanted it to be?
We don't know why we don't catch the media's eye, having a disease around 151 to 152 years now. And, the latest, newest improved drug is Rallyzol. It was back from 1995. And to this day, it's like, new technology. You've got all the advanced technology in a lot of these labs, and it's like, there's still nothing really for ALS. And then, until 2019, I was in the same shape everybody else is in. There wasn't no hope. We didn't know what Brainstorm had in store for us. We was out, took a big gamble. And to catch the media's attention, as far as like ABC Nightline News, 60 Minutes, that kind of thing, it's like nobody wants to hear our story or hear our side.
Right.
It is heartbreaking and devastating. But that's where you find a solution to draw the media attention. Instead of trying to reach out to them, do something so they're reaching back out to you.
Right.
I'm in the process. We have some things in our that's going on right now that could really draw the media's attention.
Yeah, tell us about that a little bit. You got a cool project coming potentially. What's up with that?
I have a opportunity to fish in the bass fishing league against professional bass fishermen, and if everything goes good and God sees us to it, March the 6th we're going to kick off the tournament, and hopefully I can get some ALS support groups to help back me. I would love to add their names to the side of the boat. Everything's going to be done professionally.
Mm-hmm.
And try to help bring awareness to ALS. We started looking on the register sheet, and there's over 250 boaters done signed up for the tournament. And then you have 250 plus anglers that signed up for the tournament. Right there is over 500 people. Then you've got
great.
your local news media. Then you've got the guys that follows the bass fishing leagues. They're going to be there. Some of them's going to be live. Some of them isn't. So I mean, there's an opportunity there to draw the media attention, and hopefully everything goes good, and we can accomplish that.
Right. Why don't you just take us back briefly through, and I agree with all of that, by the way. The media has been really, really tough on this disease. They want to tell the same story over and over and over. Every time somebody has gotten a big media opportunity, it seems like they continue to go back to what we call cry and die, Thurman. I mean, that's a phrase of ours that we kind of created for the fact that the media wants to keep reporting the same old just tragedy and the sad part of ALS. And look, we already know that. We're living that. What we want other people to know, and what you should know out there if you're watching tonight, is the fact that this disease, this is now by choice. We could have access to these drugs. And that's why we did this week. We showed you last night a guy, Greg Canner, who said, and you heard in the opening piece there, that he'd be in the ground right now, he thinks, that had it not been for his opportunity to take that drug. I was in the phase 3 trial, full disclosure as well. And you, of course, as you were, why don't you tell us a little bit about your time in that trial? Just again, the short version of how it went for you. In other words, we won't talk about how you got in the trial and all that. People can watch the first phase. What they want to know is how you're still holding up. And so take us just from that. Let's say where you were before the trial, and then where you were after the trial, when Nightline was kind of working with you, and then where you are today. Those 3 steps, if you don't mind, just real quick.
Sure. Before, May 29th, me and my wife arrived in Boston. This is after the bone marrow aspiration. May 29th, it was the day before my first injection. Just to kind of, I've never had anything major done, and I really didn't know what to expect of having a needle go through my spinal cord, so I was kind of nervous. So one thing that helps calm me down is water. So if anybody's been at MGH, you can take and Google map it, whatever. We walked from MGH to the waterfront, just kind of sit down, chit chat,
Right.
I love my wife. I really needed something to calm me down, get my mind so much off of ALS and what's going on. The risk, the reward kind of factor thing. So we met with John and him from ABC Nightline News early morning of May 30th, and it was overwhelming, plus kind of like scared to death. I didn't want to screw this up for ALS,
right?
And I wanted to represent, so I didn't really want to fail this. I mean, it was an opportunity of a lifetime for something I really didn't know nothing about the disease until after I was diagnosed with it.
Right.
So whenever the opportunity came, I wanted to do it. We chose to do it. And May 30th, I received my first injection, and then went through 2 bone marrows, the lumbar punctures.
Mm-hmm.
On July 24th, I received my second injection, and that really, you could tell I could tell a big difference.
Okay.
To this day, let's be clear, I do not know what I've received. It may be placebo, I just don't know. But July the 24th, excuse me, I received a second injection, and it felt like something just come over my body, and I was able to function a little bit better, faster. My left hand responded like quicker, reflexes, everything. So then we done the first or the second video from ABC Nightline News. We done it on January the 28th. It was on a Monday. I'll never forget it. Because they done something that I always had a passion to do. I love dirt bikes, love being outdoors. And then that's whenever they had asked me to see if I could ride a dirt bike again. And I've never tried it, never really thought about it, even trying to attempt it until that day. I was like, you know what, I feel great. I believe I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. I mean, I could pull the clutch in, I could shift the gears, and that's the two major issues, the reason why I quit riding dirt bikes. So,
and
there's a lot of
just to interject real quick, that Nightline video is up. You can go see it. I'll post a link to it, but I don't want to get another copyright violation, so I couldn't bring it in here. So, but it's up, and I highly suggest that people go watch this. Or go watch that. It's very well edited, very well done, and I hope people understand that we're going back through this, just recapitulating what's happened, because we have new people coming in all the time. So you've gone now. You could squeeze the clutch again on your bike after that. You've gone through phase 3 now. You've been through the whole trial. I've seen you. We've all seen the videos of you busting concrete and stuff. Tell us a little bit about, and please be as honest as you can. Where are you at today, buddy? Where do you feel like you are today, and where did you end up when at your best point after the trial? Let's start there. Where you describe your best point, and then where you are again today.
Okay, let me step back here. Okay. May 29th, I really struggled walking from MG8 down to the waterfront. That's about a mile and a tenth maybe.
Yeah, it's a long way.
I really super struggled with that.
Wow.
Okay, then in the middle of this, whenever I received the third injection, me and my wife, we went camping with the family up Summersville, West Virginia, at a local park, and they like walking through the woods, of course, looking at the creeks, the waterfalls, stuff like that. So they was kind of curious if I could make it, and I was like, well, truth be known, I really don't know. I said, but I won't know unless I try.
Sure.
So we took off. We ended up hiking over 9 miles that day.
Right.
This is around October, of course. My last or my third injection was September 19th of 2019.
Okay.
Sitting here today, I've done something that was very tough for myself yesterday, because I've never, I'm pretty close to being back to where I was May the 29th, 2019.
Wow.
As far as my walking.
Right.
My hand strength, it's still there. I'm still opening up water bottles, Gatorade bottles, stuff like that. Still functioning very well. But my left foot, it's a little bit weaker, but it's not as weak as what it was back in 2019.
Okay.
But it's super close.
Right.
Not gonna lie. Yesterday I went and got custom fitted for some braces to help me walk.
Right.
Of course, everybody's seen me walk at our last protest up in Washington, D.C.
Sure.
Felt great. Walked.
Yeah, you looked really good. And that was, by the way, that was June of last year. So now going on, 7 months, 8 months. I mean, that's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of hope. Science can say whatever, but I know how I felt before an injection.
Sure.
I know how I felt getting the injections.
Sure.
And I know how I feel now.
Okay.
It's kind of, mentally it's very tough to sit here and think, there's a drug out there that made me feel as good as what I did back in 2019 through the fall season into 2020. And I can't get it. And it's, mentally it's tough. And like I said before, I don't know what I've received.
Right.
But I mean, there was something there. It wasn't like there's nothing false, nothing fake about it. There was something there. I don't know if it's the grace of God, but there was something there.
Man, that's amazing. That's truly amazing. I mean, everybody that's seen you, kind of knows that. Sorry, I lost the audio there for just a second. My wife's actually leaving to go out tonight, and I guess do some partying while I'm stuck here with you on the. No, I'm just kidding. Really, it's absolutely my pleasure to see you again back. It would be nice to be able to go out again though and do that kind of stuff. I'll tell you that. Do you do that kind of stuff normally? Do you still go out and enjoy evenings out and stuff? It's just too hard for me now. I'm to maneuver with my legs like they are.
Yeah, we go out. We still try to walk as much as I can, but I kind of know a limit. I feel the fatigue coming on, that kind of thing. And like I said, I can still walk without any kind of assistance. I can still balance without any assistance.
Good.
I still walk up and down the steps carrying stuff without any kind of assistance, that kind of thing. But whenever you're talking about starting to walk, just like for instance, whenever we went to Boston this last time, they ended up moving the location where the Uber car drives you off and where it picks you up.
Right. They did.
Yep. From that distance from the airport to that location, it's almost 1.5 miles, 2 miles long.
Okay.
Well, then we got off got out of the Uber car by the hospital, and we ended up walking to the riverfront again. I think we ended up walking close to 7 miles that day, and that was December the 1st of 2020. So me and my wife, we'd walk down and we'd sit and we'd chit-chatted, and, but this whole ordeal, as far as, mentally, it is stressful thinking and knowing how this disease is, and you still don't have access to a drug that makes you feel as good as what you did.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, the number one comment that I get now from the dozen or so people I've interviewed, and I still have more that I have not released. I've still got 2 full interviews, and there are more people out there. We saw another gentleman that sent us a message the other day and asked me something. I think it was if I'd heard about the EAP program or something, and I had never heard of this guy. There are people out there, and that's the problem. And I would urge all people to come forward right now, please, and discuss your experience with this trial. We're at a very critical moment, as you know, Thurman and ALS. The next month or 2 months or whatever it is between AMX35, which is a drug that we believe very strongly in, and we've been supporting it lately very strongly. We think it should be approved immediately. It may be a little challenging to do that straight out of phase 2 with no phase 3, but it's possible. I mean, it is possible. The FDA could do it because it hit its primary endpoint. But this drug, Nurown, this therapy, Nurown, is the one that we all want. I mean, let's just make no bones about it. I've yet to hear anybody in the trial say, "No, I'll pass, thanks." I mean, the answer is always the same. If I got placebo, I want more, or it's, I think I got placebo, and they still want the drug. So it's not, this is not a drug that people have had bad experiences on and says, no, I don't want to do it. Everybody wants a shot at this or another shot at it, and I find that to be interesting because it's not always the case. Some people do drop out and they refuse expanded access and compassionate use. I could almost guarantee you that nobody would refuse expanded access for this trial. Nobody. That says a lot to me.
Yeah, it's even like myself. Either, there's like, we can try to get you in the HEALING platform trial. Doing research, I don't think there's another drug, and this could be me. I'm just this way. I turned down several drugs in the trials.
Yeah.
Due to the fact that I know how I felt
Wow.
in the brainstorm trial. And that brainstorm was my first and only trial, the first and only medication that I've done for ALS. Yes, I take my Ralzol like the doctor prescribes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah. And I mean, you started at the top, basically. You went straight for the throat, didn't you? When you got into these clinical trials, man, you went straight to the top.
And it was all by the grace of God. I mean, I can't take credit for it because I was, it's like November the 28th, 2018, whenever, I kid you not, I'm sorry, it was right before Thanksgiving Day. We lost our home because the doctor took me off work. So we ended up having to move into my wife's grandmother's house, which is totally fine with me. I'm blessed with it. I mean, it's a roof over our head. And I was downhearted, broken, didn't really know which way to turn, didn't know what to do. My family's suffering financially. We just lost our dream home. My son, he had just graduated out of high school. I couldn't financially help support him in college.
Right.
And we couldn't find out any kind of scholarships, anything to help him out. I mean, it was just a really tough time.
Sure.
And it seemed like whenever I was on my cell phone fooling around, I don't know why, I don't know how, I don't know where it came from, but there was a blue icon popped up on the screen. And it had Operation Brainstorm Stem Cell Therapy. And it had the number straight to Judy Carey up at MGH, and I clicked on it. I mean, you're talking about 6:30 in the evening. So I called it and left her a message. About 3 or 4 days went by. I called her back, left a message. Well, that evening, she ended up calling me back, and it was just like a gift from God because she's like, well, it's going to take several months to do this. And I was thinking, do I have several months? You know how?
Right. Yep.
It's only given me 2 years to live. I already lived 1 year of it.
Right.
So, it's kind of emotional. And then right after that, it seemed like in December, they set me up with like a 45-minute to an hour phone call. Then I was scheduled to be in Boston on a mid-February-ish.
Right.
And ended up starting it in July 28th. And then February came along. I mean, I just did my follow-up visits and tested into the trial. And it was just, it happened so quick. And we were so blessed of how everything went.
Right. Man, that's awesome. Sometimes when it's meant to be, it's meant to be. The only thing I ever see like that pops up on my computer is those things you get for the extended warranty and stuff, spam, all that. So it'd be amazing to actually find something on their computer that produces that kind of result. So that's truly amazing. That's awesome.
Because my first phone call back from Boston was a auto warranty thing, and whenever I got the phone call, I was so happy. It was like
I bet
God sent an email. I answer the phone, and I'm so excited, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're reaching out to you about as far as extended warranty, and I mean, I about lost it on the guy.
I can't imagine.
It wasn't about 10 minutes later. Judy Carey called back, and I was like, dude, you're wasting my time. This is a national hospital number, this and that. And she's like, is this Thurman Maynard? I was like, yeah. She said, this is Judy Carey from MGH. And I was like, I mean, it was a blessing.
Oh, man, that's awesome. That's incredible. So you've completed the trial now, and of course, as we all have, the trial's finished. The data's being looked at right now, and we're going to get into what's next in a minute. I know that's the big question, and let me ask you just one final question about that, and I know you're going to hang with me here as I go through this in case we have any further questions, but I mean, none of us know what we got. I mean, it's still blinded, and by the way, the company has to do that because if there's any questions as the process goes on, once they tell us what we got, that opportunity's lost. And so, but I submit to you, after as many people as I've talked to about this trial, I believe we'll find out some people were just slow progressors. They probably got placebo that claimed that they got the real stuff. it's bound to happen. But that's not what this is really about. This is about a numbers game, and it's pretty clear to me, and the data actually supports this, that people above a certain FRS score had a fantastic response. But I want to be clear, the response was across the entire trial. You know, 36% response rate across the whole trial. The placebo was a little bit high, but then again, you know, and we've talked about this before. No more excuses, Thurman. This was a very fair trial. I mean, they took people that, frankly, would not have been in other trials like Radicava, in my opinion. I mean, there were some people who were very low on the ALS FRS score. Is there any doubt in your mind at this point? You know, because you were still functional when you went in. I don't know what your FRS score was when you went in. They don't tell us that. They can't. I mean, but a lot of people kept their own data because they were curious, obviously. And do you have any idea what your FRS score was when you went in versus when you came out? Could you guesstimate? Because it's just a questionnaire, and that's obviously one of the problems with ALS trials that we'll talk about as well. But can you guess where you were before and after, and then is there any doubt in your mind that this drug, that if you did get this drug, it helped you? Any doubt?
Yeah, I was still functioning, but as far as like opening up water bottles, Gatorade bottles, and you can even see the video clip. I wish that I got it the day right before my first injection of me trying to stand on my tippy toes. Well, July 28th, whenever ABC Nightline News, they was here at our home, they ended up videoing me standing on my tippy toes, both feet. The heels was completely off the ground. And I believe that I was a 44.
Okay.
Then, let's see, I think December the 11th of 2019, I believe I was at a 47.
Okay.
December 1st, whenever I was up in Boston of 2020, I believe I was at like a 45 and a half, I think that's what they said. If not, just leave it at 45.
Right.
Well, I mean, I still feel great, still functioning, still doing everything that I want. It's just the walking the long distance. It seems like it's starting to affect me doing that. My breathing's good. God knows I'm eating healthy, gaining lots of weight. Shoo.
I hear that, buddy. Man, I tell you what, I put on about 12 pounds myself, but they say that's good, but I'm not so sure. I think it's just, as we become more sedentary, unable to do stuff, it's easier to pack on the pounds. So, yeah, you've always been one that I thought, if you did get the real stuff, and again, nobody knows, and they don't tell us much, obviously, because it's a trial. They can't. So, I've always felt like you were one of the ones that, probably would be a super responder. I do believe there are people who respond better than others. I mean, look, let's be clear to people who are watching. This Nurown is not a cure. No, nobody has ever said that here, and never. I mean, we would never say that. It's not just like AMX35, which only seems to slow functional decline. Greg Cantor, he thinks he got a really good response. He said he'd be in the ground today if it hadn't have been for AMX35 because it protects the breathing muscles. But what I find interesting, and what the data shows now from phase 3, and as we'll go into some of this just briefly, is that Nurown appears to be neuroprotective. It appears to reduce neuroinflammation and degenerative markers. You were on that trial, that call, and of course we won't mention any specific doctors' names. We would never do that, but the vibe was generally that the drug does what it's supposed to do in terms of reducing those neuroinflammatory markers, and so they have an idea of how they think it works. Whereas with other drugs, like for instance Radicava, they say it's just an antioxidant, they think, or whatever, or Riluzole, they think it works by modulating glutamate. Well, I think Dr. Appel said it best, that neuroinflammation in the central nervous system is a big cause of ALS progression. And some people, in some people anyway, so there may be different types of ALS that, that Nurown won't work on. And that's that's still perfectly okay. I mean, it's just fine. For those of you who really are new to this and don't know much about the trial, I just want to show you real quick where this thing's been. I mean, you're talking 2010, Thurman. That's 11 years ago right now, where this drug started over in Israel. And now with the end of the phase 3 trial, which was, they sought to enroll 200 patients. I think there were some dropouts and some other stuff. I don't know what the final number is, but it was up close to, I think in the high 190s. But look at this. I mean, we're at 11 years now, as you can see, through phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And I'll just be perfectly honest and say it. Look, we got to have this drug approved. I mean, Thurman, that we cannot wait any longer to make ALS more treatable in any manner, any way, shape, or form. I mean, this product, in my opinion, like AMX 35 and others, it has an effect. There's no question about that. I mean, the data shows that it does. And I'll get into some of that in a moment. As we know now, the company released its press release yesterday and said that it was speaking with the FDA, engaging with them, looking for a path forward. And that's really good news, because I know things are taking a long time, but the trial did have mixed results. It did produce mixed results, and that created a little bit of a problem. Whereas AMX 35's kind of got the other problem. It failed its secondary endpoints, and it just came out of phase 2. So, see, here's the thing: the FDA has a choice to make right now. And we urge the FDA to please consider doing the right thing for the future of this disease. I mean, if we were to lose Nurown and AMX 35, it'd be catastrophic to anybody who's alive today. That's why I have hope and faith that the FDA will do the right thing. This drug, in my opinion, there's no question about efficacy for those who are, especially those who are higher functioning, like you were and I were and others were. It's just like cancer. I mean, you can't expect a drug to work in stage 4 every time. I mean, that's ridiculous, and we cannot hold drugs to that standard in ALS, especially when we're using the FRS score as our measure, which is a questionnaire that you can do in 5 minutes. That's just not acceptable. And now, for the first time, we actually have real biomarker data, which is really exciting. I'll show you some of this. I'll tell you, when I first saw the phase 2 data, just briefly, this was interesting. There was a group of rapid progressors that everybody heard about, and frankly, in ALS trials, it's easier to see the results in rapid progressors. And so, it'd be nice to just have all rapid progressors in your trial, but that doesn't, that's not really adequate. You've got to have a fair, even trial, balanced trial, and so you put they split out versus all participants and rapid progressors. But this drug was clinically, let me get that scroll out of the way. This drug was in the faster progressors at 2 and 4 weeks, about a month. It was significant, and that's huge. That's when I first thought, oh man, there's something to this. We saw those rapid progressor people really seem to do well, and in fact, here's what the actual data said. Is that in the sorry, my writing is really small here, but I can't really see it. I don't want to misquote the data, but I think it says a plus 1.7 point per month improvement over minus 0.4 in the placebo group. So, there was a clear. My point is there was a clear signal of efficacy in phase 2, and that's why it went to phase 3, which is amazing. Most ALS drugs do not make it that far. And I want to say thank you to CIRM really quickly. I want to thank CIRM for funding this drug. It made phase 3 possible. California Institute the California Institute of Research Medicine or something. I don't know. It's something like that. But CIRM is fantastic, and they came in, man, and they really bought into this regenerative medicine. That's the word I was looking for. And believe it or not, guys, that's a taxpayer-funded organization. So if we owe a debt of gratitude to anybody right now, we owe that to the taxpayers of California. for really helping phase 3 get underway. You know, as you all know, also never gave a dime for this until the biomarker work was just about finished, and then they donated like 400 grand. And IMALS came in with 100,000, I think, for a total of 5. I think that's correct. And so, but really, it was the California Institute of Regenerative Medicine, and I just want to say thanks to them. That without them, this drug never would have even gotten this far. And those people are pretty smart people. They don't throw money around, $15 or $16 million. They don't throw that kind of money around without having some sort of real clear efficacy signal. Here's the actual data release from phase 3, guys. That came out initially, and this is what the data was. It did not, as you know, Brainstorm did not meet its primary endpoint. It did in a subgroup, but you can see here, there were 34.6% responder rate, 35 was their target, and then 15% was their placebo target. And you can see, so it was it hit 30, it hit 34, it hit the 35% target. Let's round up, but that's what they do. It hit the response target across the whole trial. By the way, that's not just one group. I want to be clear. It hit that response at 34.6 was across the whole trial. Now, as you know by now, guys, there was a subgroup that did even better. Now, we don't know yet. I don't believe they obviously haven't got the full data out, but that number of individuals, we don't know what that exact number is. Nobody does. But I guess we have to decide as a society if it's, let's say, 5, if it's 10, if it's 50. I mean, what is enough? What is enough in a disease with no other option? You know, Thurman, my guess is you're probably, and I don't know, you may not have gotten the drug, I don't know. But if you did and you had a good result, you would likely have been in a group like that where you saw a better response. But look, I mean, the drug, you know, there were some very sick people in this trial, and so it still did well, and it still should be approved based on these data. And so you can see here that the average change from baseline here was about at the very bottom there. You can't see it. It's about 2 points. So about 2 points, right? So favoring the Nurown group. And I'll tell you what, 2 points means a lot. As we saw in that slide, guys, 2 points is a big difference. And then we had some people, I think, who will eventually be seen to have even better response. So it's not, I mean, remember that was across the whole trial, and then there was the subgroup. The subgroup, there were, you know, a subgroup is a group of people that the company, a pre-specified subgroup, where they try to identify a group of individuals that they think are going to do better, and they're usually, you know, there was a 35 and up in this case. That was a pre-specified subgroup, and they also hit that 34.6 result. That was across. Remember, that was across the whole trial. But they actually hit that 15.6% placebo. The reason that the trial, they said it didn't meet primary endpoint was, I think I've got the next slide on this, is that unfortunately, this right here, you can see here that a greater proportion of people did not, you know, they had too high of a placebo response at 27.7. Still beneficial, but not, you know, not significant, unfortunately. And that's the problem, guys. It's you know, we had a very, as Haim said on the call, you all heard that too on the data release day. He said that sadly, you know, it wasn't a home run or whatever. But I submit to you that for ALS patients, that to be the opportunity to be in that subgroup for people, you know, and as others have said, the drug should be approved for everybody with potentially maybe a post-marketing condition or whatever, and I agree with that. This drug, it's just got to be approved. It's adequate for approval in every way right now as compared to other things like Radicava. And so if the FDA is going to do that, it needs to do this as well, and that's what we want to push for. And we want to do that, of course, nicely and respectfully. You know, the days of advocating like we did a couple of years ago are over. The FDA is making a decision right now, and we have to honor that. We will, and I hope that we have to hope for the best. You know, that's where we're at right now, and I'm very positive. I think the FDA will do the right thing. I think this drug has a clear signal of efficacy. There's no doubt about that. We've just seen too many people, Thurman, who've had just remarkable responses. It's not going to be for everybody. It's not going to work on everybody, excuse me. But, you know, Radicava worked in a group of about 7% of ALS patients. And they were very healthy patients, you know, mostly very healthy patients. And so if that drug's approved, then so should Nurown, you know, in my opinion. But you can also see one of the nice things about this drug is that there were increases in neuroprotective factors and reduction in neuroinflammatory markers. So the theory is that, just like Dr. Appel said in that amazing presentation he had with Michelle Lorenz's group, Everything ALS, boy, they really identified some key biomarkers, which you all saw in this chart here. It showed neuroprotection was up, and I know that's really small. Everything in the green there is neuroprotective. Everything on the left where it's red is something bad. Neuroinflammation, and then neuronal injury. All the markers went, you know, in the right way. That means the red there, by the way, means it decreased. So that's good. So these are excellent biodata. And it's groundbreaking. One doctor said it was groundbreaking, and I'd completely concur with that. To be able to have a drug that can you know, slow down this disease and many, and I believe, straight up, I'll just say it, I think it can halt this disease in some. We've, you know, patients talk, obviously. You've seen some of these people. And I'll just be honest with you, I think it can. I think that's what it has the power to do. And anytime we have a drug like that with that kind of potential, it's got to be approved, especially considering it's met every safety benchmark that I've seen. I don't think there's any question about the safety of the drug, you know. And so this is the chart, or the little slide again I wanted people to see. This pre-specified subgroup, the treatment response was seen, a greater treatment response was seen, and again that was the group that the company had identified as being likely to respond, and it did. So you got 34.6 of those receiving Nurown met the main goal, which is incredible. 34.6, guys, that's amazing. And then 15% of those on placebo. I think I might have not done a super good job explaining that earlier. It's confusing, but the bottom line is that subgroup of patients, those are the people who are above 35, you know, on the ALS-FRS score, and you know, they did really well. They did well. The problem is that the people, you know, in the other group, the rest of the trial, they had too robust of a placebo response. And so that's the decision that the FDA now faces, and we hope that they do the right thing and that they approve this drug based on the totality of the evidence and everything that we know, and that's what we're waiting on right now. You know, this is a very critical moment in ALS, not just for Nurown, by the way, also for AMX35, because think about this, Thurman, if we had AMX35 and Nurown in the next, you know, year, let's say, you know, because it's going to take a while even to get it approved. Remember, the company hasn't even applied for a license yet, so it hasn't applied because it's, you know, as they announced in their press release, they're waiting on this right here. Here was the press release that came in the other day, just yesterday, I believe it was, right? Company met with the FDA to present the phase 3 data and is in ongoing discussions with the FDA to identify regulatory pathways, and that is fantastic news, Thurman. That is great news. We should be very positive about that, and I hope the FDA, you know, does the right thing. I mean, it's that simple. We all have fought for 2 years and advocated for the drugs that we thought we could get done. You know, we didn't know at the time 2 years ago when we started this that AMX35 was looking so good. I mean, there was no data at that point, really. There was a small amount of data for TUDCA, and but not enough, nothing like this. And so we would have certainly advocated for TUDCA and all the other ones. So when we started, we chose Nurown, Copper ATSM, and TRegs. And as you know, Thurman, TRegs has been fantastic. I mean, it's really been amazing what it's done. And so, yeah, do you have anything you want to add there? Do you see, you how do you feel about this, and what do you think? You think the FDA should approve this drug immediately, or what are your thoughts on it? I bet I know what you're going to say, but
Absolutely, they definitely need to jump on this quick. There's a lot of loved ones out there that I've grown attached to over the 2.5 years of being exposed nationally with this disease.
right,
I would love to see everybody get a chance for neurons to run through their body. And like you said before, some's going to respond to it, some may not.
absolutely.
But anything positive, I don't care if it's you're opening up your eyes faster.
Sure.
Your toes are they quit twitching. Anything positive.
Right.
That is a step in the right direction. I can remember right after my first injection, I always had problems with my legs whenever it rained outside. Well, that day, I walked over to the window, and this was probably 6-7 hours after my injection.
Okay.
I walked over to the window and looked out the window at MGH Hospital, and I looked back at my wife, and it was kind of teary-eyed because I wasn't feeling an ounce of pain in my legs.
Right.
She's like,
That's
"What is
amazing.
it?" I said, "Outside," and she's like, "What?" Okay. I was like, "My legs ain't bothering me like they was."
Right.
And it may have been where they fought with my spinal cord or anything, but to this day, I still haven't had those same pains in my legs like I had before.
Wow. That's incredible. That is absolutely incredible.
Because it's raining outside now, and I can stand up and do jumping jacks.
Yeah, don't be doing that. That's not good. I want to mention this too. We've got a petition for Nurown here, and there's a lot of signatures on this. I haven't checked it lately, but I imagine it's please go sign this. We are considering now just canceling this thing out. In other words, cashing it out, I should say, and getting all the signatures off of this thing. I don't know how we'll handle that yet or whatever, but this has been a petition that we've supported, quote, officially now for a long time, and I think it's getting up there. Somebody can check it, see how many signatures it's got. It's the one with the blue the blue background with the wheelchair sitting there, and we got up to 200,000 for copper ATSM, which was amazing. So, the bottom line is that we have to have this drug approved, guys, and so we need the FDA to do this. So if you're new to this and you're asking what can you do, the answer is simple. Be nice, number one, and ask. It's okay to ask for your life. Just do it in a nice manner. Try to go get some local media if you want. That's I hate to say this, guys, but the last 2 years, thank you all so much for what you did, because I feel like we did everything we can. Now it's up to the FDA. It's that simple. I wish I had a better answer for everybody. We're waiting on them right now. Whatever you do, be respectful. I know that it's probably a surprise to hear this coming from us, but we've been there and done that. The time for detente is here. It's nigh right now, where we've done our homework, we've done the protests, we've done all that. I think we've laid it all on the line, frankly, and you guys did all of that. You participated in all of that. Thurman, you came to DC, and this is what we need right here, guys. We need an approval for all ALS patients would be ideal, absolutely ideal. Not just those who are 35 and above in the pre-specified subgroup. There's been talk about that and a rumor about that, but look, we need it for everybody, guys. We need it for everybody, and that they can do a post-marketing commitment or a phase 4 ongoing trial. You can see here. Basically, they can, just like they did for Radicava, there's a way to do this kind of conditionally. They can approve the drug, and then they could require an additional trial. And I have no clue or no doubt that if we could just get this thing into bodies, get that trial going, start putting this drug into people, that we would start seeing results. I know it in my heart, and it's very difficult to get ALS drugs approved. We all know that. That's why one of the reasons we have to get HR 8662 done, so we can have another pathway with expanded access. It's very, very difficult to get ALS drugs approved because of the ALS FRS thing. And it's, there's been over 80 failed ALS trials. And I mean, this loss would be catastrophic. And so I just hope that the FDA, and we pray the FDA does the right thing here for both of these drugs, AMX35 and Nurown, and then eventually TRegs. I just had, by the way, guys, I wanted to update you on something really, really cool. This is kind of sort of breaking news, I guess you could say. That I had a really, really good conversation today with a gentleman from a new company called Koya, C-O-Y-A. And they were very, very responsive, an amazing group of people. Now, what they did is they came in and they kind of licensed and helped Dr. Appel. They signed an agreement with him, and I hope to have an interview with them soon, actually, because that would be amazing. You guys know I'm a big believer in the TReg procedure. I think it's one of the best procedures out there, if not the best. In fact, I think it and Nurown both are neck and neck, but Koya just dumped a bunch of money into TRegs. So that's an amazing announcement that just came out yesterday, and we hope to, again, have them on soon on our ALS News Now platform so they can tell you about what's going on. Literally, that whole thing is so new, they don't really know where they're going yet. I know they obviously have a master plan, but they infused Dr. Appel's Treg procedure with $10 million, and that's amazing because let's face it, we can't rely on the big boys to do it, that's for sure. So Dr. Appel's Treg procedure now has some financial security, and they told me that they expect data for the phase 2 trial this summer, June, July. And if that's the case, who knows? If it's good, if it's really good, then we may be in this. I hope that the ALS community would support approval of Tregs now, just like they're pushing for AMX35. I mean, how awesome would it be to get incredible phase 2 data from Tregs? And I know the Bradleys are probably watching, so thank you for what you did last night. But how awesome would it be to get amazing top-line data from that trial and then maybe go to the FDA and say, all right, look, we've got a way to halt ALS. You remember that trial in phase 1 stopped ALS in 3 out of 3 people, all 3 people. So we're right on the verge of making this terrible, ugly disease treatable in a number of ways. And by the way, Nurown is not the only stem cell procedure out there right now. If stem cells were not a viable treatment option for ALS, then we wouldn't have competitors already popping into the market and just kind of sniffing in there like AstroRx and NSI-566. And then we, of course, as you saw, No More Excuses the other day, Mitsubishi Pharma through their subsidiary MP Pharmaceuticals. That, of course, we know who gets paid from Mitsubishi Pharma, don't we? Our friends there from Radicava, the big money coming in from that. So they've got now a stem cell procedure that's coming in, which is, that's amazing. So there's at least 3 stem cell procedures. And if you count the one from Mayo that's in trial again with the adipose cells, that's 4. So the writing's on the wall as far as stem cell procedures go for ALS. Nurown should be the first one approved. It should be approved immediately. And in my opinion, we can't, guys. This was some of my experience going through the trial. Went through these airports 14 times. People really made a big sacrifice, didn't they, Thurman, to do these trials? And it cannot, the idea of not having Nurown approved is just, it's too devastating to think of. I mean, I'm not even going to go there because it should be approved. I mean, so, all the advocating we did, all the way for the last 2 years, going to DC, doing the media, even the Stevens, involved at the highest level in the White House, everything we've done, and these incredible protests, all of you, thank you so much for what you guys did. I mean, here we are meeting with the FDA, and of course Janet Woodcock there, who I believe and have faith in that she will do the right thing. I hope that the FDA does, and I know you do as well. But all of this culminates. It could be, I don't know, who knows, anytime. I mean, we don't know. That's the problem as patients, we don't know. But whatever this answer is, we're going to fight. And we have no choice. Patients must have this drug right now. It clearly works. Imagine giving Nurown to everybody who's newly diagnosed, Thurman, where you were at a 40 and above. Now, of course, we never forget about the people who are already progressed, but imagine what that would do to ALS if everybody who was new to this damn disease was able to get Nurown right after diagnosis. If I was able to get it when I was still 41 or 42, and I was 41, I think I was 42, actually, the first diagnosis with my local doctor, somewhere in that range. If I could have gotten it right, if I could have just flown to Dallas or something and had it right then, I mean, I may still be walking way better and working even, right? I mean, you just said today you had to spend $3,000, or the quote for that brace was $3,000 or whatever it was, right? So
the brace is both for both feet. I went ahead and got them for both feet. I'm having, I mean, I'm still walking pretty good with my right foot, but the left one, which that's the one that I always had issues with before the May 30th. But both braces, I went ahead and got both of them just in case if the right one ever did act up, because I love walking, I love working. Everybody sees my videos.
Right.
I do them videos not because
you just like to bust concrete, don't you?
Oh yeah. I do these videos not because I show off or brag about anything. I do these videos because we never know our time here on Earth.
Right.
Just say, for instance, a helicopter falls out of the sky and strikes me dead.
Right.
You guys, everybody out there battling ALS has these videos on social media that they can reach out to. They can get in contact with my wife, anything to show, hey, you can see my steps as far as before injections, during the injections, even up to up to wintertime. Of course, I don't do much during the wintertime. But these videos are for you. It's not for me. I get negative messages. It is stressful as far as putting yourself out there for the media.
Oh yeah.
Not knowing what you've got out of if you got the drug or placebo.
Right. Absolutely.
The thing about it is you're watching somebody with ALS, do daily chores, beyond daily chores, in blocks 90 pounds apiece.
Sure. And
do a retaining wall, move debris, concrete walls, doing concrete.
Right.
And it's not bragging whatsoever.
No. Nobody. I don't think anybody thinks of it that way. I think you want to show people that you are, you're capable of doing this, and I think there's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, you're probably one of these. You're probably a good responder. I mean, that's the bottom line, and I think that other people as well could be. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there are some people I know of, and again, this whole night, I have to be extremely careful about what I say. I'm trying to be very, very careful because I don't want to abuse anybody's trust with what they've told me, and I'm in kind of a bad spot with that, especially these patients who have trusted in me with. But guys, it's difficult knowing some of these people's potential results. Again, I say potential because they don't know either if they're in the treated group or not. But when you have people who have a slope, a terrible slope rating, a progression, and they go basically to zero. I mean, ALS doesn't really go into remission, guys. I mean, it can slow down a little bit, but it doesn't go into remission, but it can slow down and vary enough to throw off data in the trial. I mean, could you cut your food today? Well, I don't know. What kind of food did I have, right? I mean, that's one of the fundamental problems with this. And I just want to clarify this data one more time before we go. And and I think you could be in this group. Who knows? I mean, nobody knows. But again, the key is there was a pre-specified subgroup with people above a 35 on the FRS, and it demonstrated a clinically meaningful treatment response across those people. Now, it wasn't significant because there wasn't enough of those people, but we don't know how many it was. And again, I go back to this point: how many is enough? How many is enough who got a 34.6 response with only a 15% placebo rate, which was basically, that's exactly what the company was shooting for, with a 2% or a 2-point improvement favoring Nurown. I mean, so there is clear treatment benefit. I want to be clear. This drug didn't fail. It failed. It's only failing in our minds. It's only failing in the way we think of ALS. To have that kind of result is phenomenal for ALS. Just like Dr. Suchit Patel said, and I'm just going to run this video because I want him to clarify this, and I want to thank the Saxinas for this. Let me just put a little context on what he's saying here. It's an amazing point. And this guy's a PhD in neuroscience and an MD of oncology, and this is what he said about it. And then we'll close out and on a Friday night and go drink some beer. Hang on a second. Here we go.
My name is Suchit Patel. I am an MD PhD. I have a PhD in neuroscience. I am a practicing radiation oncologist. As a physician, and also as somebody who's been directly impacted with one of my close friends having been diagnosed with ALS, why the bill makes sense to me. You know, there was a recent trial that Michelle mentioned at the beginning of this that failed to meet its endpoint and was declared a failed trial, and yet had 35% of patients that had an objective response. As a practicing oncologist, if there was an oncology trial that had a 35% objective response rate, we would be rejoicing for a rare oncologic condition. That would be why this has been so difficult in ALS, is because of the rarity of the disease and how trials have to be structured for a disease that is universally fatal and rapidly progressing. I mean, to me, that's a no-brainer about trying to get a drug in the hands of patients that need it most, that could have potentially life-altering impact in a way that's safe and administered by experts that are already doing that in a phase 3 clinical trial site. That would be an amazing trial. And yet for ALS, we declare that as a failed trial. And that's only because of the structural limitations of a clinical trial in a rare neurodegenerative disease, again, that's universally fatal.
All right, there you go. You know what I probably should have done, Thurman? I probably should have just played that video and then just closed out. I mean, that you really can't say it any better than Dr. Patel just did right there. I mean, whoops, wrong one. So you got to, as he says, the potential for a life-altering impact. That's number one. Not just a slowdown in the disease of 5 or 6 months. Life-altering impact, meaning in what we've seen in some people, the halting of progression. Okay, that's what he means by a life-altering impact, or close to it. Substantial reduction in progression. And then the way you described the failures in neurodegenerative medicine and trials, it's right on the money. I mean, I'm just going to post that video, and I want to thank the Team Saxina for that video. That I think that they've done amazing work. And of course, people like Michelle Lorenz. We're going to fire up this bill again. Don't worry, guys, it's coming. We just have to let all this nonsense get out of the way politically. And then I think also, we're kind of waiting. I don't know when we're going to get any sort of decision from the FDA. I have no idea, but it could be any time, or it could be another 2 months. Nobody knows. So we just have to hope for the best. I mean, that's the best we got. I mean, that's it. We've done our homework. And all I would ask that you do is, if you do want to contact the FDA, just please be very nice and very respectful. Remember, they now have your life pretty much in their hands right now. So just treat it with really good care, and that would be my advice to you. Now's not the time to be aggressive. It's a time to take a step back and let them make their decision. The data is what it is, guys. It's good enough in our opinion. No more excuses. Our official position is this drug should be approved right now for all ALS patients with post-marketing condition approval, meaning another trial for efficacy as we go. That makes good sense. And there's doctors on record, one doctor, I should say in particular, a very well-known doctor, I won't mention his name, but who said exactly that. And it makes good sense. He even said that. It makes good pharmaceutical practice. Could not agree more. It's already been done. This is 11 years worth of data and safety, guys. 11 years worth of safety data and efficacy. All those trips to Boston through a dirty airport, into hotels. This is a monumental amount of work that now awaits basically a signature. That's it. And we just have to pray that this goes through and that we get access to this drug for all of you. I'm happy with what we've done, guys. We've laid it on the line. We need the country to know through media and through other things. I think that this has to be done. And frankly, the media, I've been disappointed with the media. They have not told this story properly, and that's a shame. And we urge the media to please do that. There's a real story here. It's a story of incredible suffering of people in this trial and people with ALS. And so our official position is that we should never let all that just go to waste. It's got to be approved. So that's it. It's really that simple, and we hope for the best. Thurman, you got time for some questions, man? Let me see if we got any questions. Anybody who wants to ask Thurman a couple of questions, please do. Now's the time.
No hard questions.
Jerry and Carol, thank you for everything you guys did. I know that you were right there on the front lines, man, for 8662. Thank you so much for that. Wow. And everybody that did. There's too many to name. But when that starts back up, we're going to be all in on that. We have to be. We really do. Let me just see if there's any... let's see. Do I look like an assassin? Do I look? What about what's that movie? John Wick. I'd be all right with looking like John Wick. That'd be cool. Guys, give me some serious questions if you want. Let's see. Michelle says, yeah, they're going to rock it once the bills are reintroduced. Absolutely. I mean, we know it's going to get done. Look what happened last year. We had it done twice, and we just ran out of time. The first time, the bill got rewritten and then reintroduced, and then the second time, the whistle just blew with Christmas. I mean, we were right there. And that's really what's so frustrating, because I know you guys have done everything you've been asked. And at least here in this group, I mean, I wish if we had 75% of ALS fighting like you guys do, I mean, this game would be over. I mean, it would have been over last year, 2 years ago. Let's see. Amanda Stevens, good question. How do we contact the FDA? Email, call, Twitter. That's a really good question. Let me find out what the best way to do that is. Again, I would just ask that everybody do that and be nice. I had somebody today, one of our members, say they sent Janet Woodcock a really nice email, and she replied back and said thank you. And he sent her a nice thank you email in reply. That's the way it's got to work from now on out. The mean and ugly, no more excuses is, it definitely served our purpose. We made an amazing run over the last couple of years, and I don't want it to sound like we're stopping, because we're not. It's just we're on the edge of the cliff right now. This last 2 years has been getting there. It's taken that long to get there. And right now we're there. I mean, now we're just waiting. Did we do enough? Did the ALS community do enough? That's what we're going to find out. That is what we are about to find out.
Guys, the way I look at this is...
Yeah, go ahead, bud.
It's almost like a fourth quarter. There ain't no time on the clock. And, this is what me and Mike was talking about. It's really the ball game's in the FDA's hands, whether you scored or not. Now, if you'd, if they'd have knocked it out of the park, of course, it should have been approved, and I agree it should have been approved years ago.
Right.
But right now, it's in the referee's hands, and one thing that we don't want to do is piss the referees off, because
that's exactly right.
And not in our favor. Then it's almost like starting all back over. Trying to push, of course, it's going to upset thousands of patients, even myself. And there's a lot of hope, and I really, truly believe deep down that there is some human beings up there in Washington that, is looking into this.
Right.
And hopefully they look at it as what we look at it. Just like Fortenberry looks at it. He's done a lot for us.
Yes. No question. Without them, without Team Fortenberry and Brett Quigley, or Mike Quigley, excuse me. Why did I say Brett? That's stupid. Dr. Archer, those people, man. I mean, and Michelle. I don't know. Michelle must have come in from Mars or something, because she just came in and just blew that whole thing up, took it over, and thank God, because it's been nothing but progress since that moment. You know, she got 280 people twice. I mean, in 3 months. How long did it take also to get the SSDI bill signed, the 5-month thing signed? I'll tell you, one of the big reasons is, Thurman, is because people want access to drugs. That's the one thing I think that should be learned from that lesson is, you know, a few more checks and access to SSDI. Don't get me wrong, it's critical for people when they're first diagnosed. I get it. It really is. It's a great cause, but man, people with ALS want a chance to take drugs. That's it. I mean, we want a shot at these drugs. We don't want to keep putting Band-Aids on this disease. We have to stop it. And then we'll go back, and there's some exciting news about regrowing motor neurons. That's it. I mean, if we can stop the disease and then regrow some neurons, we've won. And instead of looking for this cure, I mean, the idea of what would a cure be for ALS anyway? It's different things to different people. If you're newly diagnosed, halting progression and staying there is a cure. It's a functional cure. I mean, if you don't ever progress below a 42 or 41, who cares? I mean, it's a minor inconvenience in your life. But on the other hand, if you're already fully progressed, you need to regrow motor neurons, and that's your cure, right? So there is never going to be a magic cure for ALS, because it's probably 15 or 20 different diseases anyway. Sorry, I don't know why I'm, not on me as well. I just got carried away there. I was riding the wave, wasn't I? So, but no, still, hopefully they heard that. They should have. But, the point is that, it's a cure is a different thing to different people. That's it. And so, cancer still has no cure. But as you know, Thurman, they're pulling people with stage 4 out of the grave every day right now, And
everybody sees, I got Texas hat on. I fell in love with these boots, and I don't know why. They're very stable boots that I found, that myself was very stable on. And, somehow, some way I got connected with the boat. Well, then whenever I done the bass fishing tournament last year in October,
right.
Of course, Texas done a sponsorship into that. And then one of their representatives, Jason, I won't say his last name, but he reached out to me and gave me an opportunity to go down to Texas and visit their manufacturing facility. Well, in all this, on my birthday, December the 16th, me and Jason met up down in Barbersville, West Virginia. And I didn't know nothing about Jason. He didn't know nothing about me. So we sat there and we chit-chatted for a while. Long story short, his family doctor that he's been, friends with, he grew up with, and all of a sudden he's his family doctor. He got diagnosed with ALS shortly before, right whenever I started doing the bass fishing tournament. So in this disease, I mean, you meet some awesome people and, opportunity like that. And that's one thing, like I told Jason, I said, I don't know what led me towards Vexus besides, they're amazing bass boats.
Right.
But then finding out that Jason's family doctor just got diagnosed with ALS. It's good and bad. And it's like Jason, he of course he loves his guy. But, Jason passes stuff on to him, that we're trying, we're doing, advocating wise.
Sure.
And that's one thing that, I want to continue to do until everybody gets a chance to get a drug in their system that they have hope for.
That's critical. Absolutely. Nope, you're absolutely right. And you're so right. I was, and I've got more to as well, which hopefully will give him some hope. Hopefully your deal comes through so you can go do the fishing tournament. That'd be great exposure for ALS. I really think you get a lot of media. I think media is the key right now. It truly is. We just got to get out there and fight it out and be nice. That's the main thing. I think we've done pretty much what we can, and now we're going to wait and see the result. So hopefully the result is good. And I want to thank, I really haven't ever done this, but I want to thank, Brainstorm too, Haim, Leibovitz, and the whole team for just doing what they're doing. I mean, trying to navigate this ALS minefield. Companies stay away from ALS for a reason. It's a tough disease to get drugs approved, and I'm thankful that there are people out there that want to spend their money on things that could help people. Like this guy for TRex that just jumped into the game. This Koya guy, his name's Howard something, I can't remember his last name, but he just came in from nowhere. His dad probably has didn't say what disease, but he was at Dr. Appel's office, so I'm going to guess it was probably like FTD or something. 3 slides. Dude looked at 3 slides from Dr. Appel. So they had to sit down one-on-one, 3 slides, and he was in for $10 million. I mean, now that's getting stuff done. And we need more people like that in ALS, obviously. But I want to thank the company, and I know you feel the same way. They've been, I know it hasn't been perfect. I know not everybody's happy. This is such a minefield to navigate. Is placebo in ALS ethical? No. I mean, I'd rather see no placebo trials, frankly, but that's not the company's call, man. That's the FDA right there. They require it, So data requires it, science requires it. I think personally, all you got to do is ask the patients. It's based on an FRS score anyway. It's based on what we say anyway, right? Like why? Yeah. Like if it's based on what we say, it's just translating through an FRS questionnaire. So patients are already telling the medical world whether or not we got the real stuff or what our functionality is, and that's how they determine if we're getting better or worse, is through the FRS scale. So it comes from us anyway. I don't know why they just couldn't just ask us, I mean, instead of this, well, how can you cut your food thing? I mean, because patients can have up and down days, and they can make a mistake. They may not understand the question. I mean, how do you answer that question personally? Do you answer what kind of steak? No, you just have to put down an answer. Do you have trouble turning in bed? Well, I mean, what define trouble? I mean, can you climb a stair? I mean, that's a more definitive one, but some of the questions it's not going to get it. We got to do better than the FRS score, and the Brainstorm trial provided biomarker data, and that's what we've got to hope that will come through in the end is the biomarker data. We didn't get the FVC data, as you know, from COVID. That sucks. That's a big loss because I believe that it really does help breathing. My breathing was up, and so I don't know that that's recorded. I think they lost all of it. I don't know. So everything's on the table right now, guys. And as we sign off here, I know we're just really chatting now, just hanging out. I'll probably edit most of this part out anyway, but I just want to say thank you to everybody out there who supported No More Excuses for the last couple of years. You guys are amazing. And we're not going anywhere at all. We're just waiting. That's all we can do right now. I mean, I know there's been a lot of question about what's going on, and we're waiting. That's it. That's where we're at. So anything you want to say, buddy, and then we'll go ahead and get on out, I guess, man. Thank you, everybody, for watching tonight. And all 5 of these will be up on YouTube, so you can go back and watch each one of them. So go ahead, take the floor.
Thank you guys for your support. I count on you guys just as much as I count on myself and my family. I've got a great support
Definitely.
for me. Even through difficult times, because mentally it's very tough knowing how I felt before, just like I said.
Yes.
And to go back, I'd like to invite anybody that's around the Lexington area. Me and Jeremy has done something that hasn't been done before. They have a bunch of trooper challenge within the state, but they've never been a state versus state trooper challenge. We have one coming up. I think April the 31st, May 1st, and the 2nd. We have West Virginia State Troopers versus the Kentucky State Troopers in a hiking challenge.
That's cool.
Challenge. Yeah, right it's going to be an awesome event. And to help spread awareness, which I'm friends with the majority of the state troopers here in our county.
Cool.
And Jeremy's friends with his guys down there, so we kind of put 2 and 2 together. We'd like to invite any and everybody out to the event. And if anybody knows an organization that would love a spot on the bass boat that we hopefully everything goes good.
Sure.
I'm looking for donations to help, with the gas, the entry fees to these tournaments to help spread awareness. Right now, I'm in a financial situation with my daughter getting ready to go to college. My son's getting ready to graduate college, making trips back and forth to Boston. You just name it. So I'm going to do my best.
It's terrible.
I'm going to do my best to do my part to, and I'm going to try 100% to make it to every tournament, because I know there's going to be more exposure at every tournament. As the tournament gets bigger and you start winning, I mean, you're getting exposed. I ain't saying I'm going to win the tournaments, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I'm going to accumulate all these guys, and they're a great group of guys. And once they start telling this one or that one, I mean, anybody can look up Clay Dyer. That man has inspired me a bunch. And I mean, he has no chance of doing what he's doing. Everybody looks at him like, how in the world are you doing this, Clay? But the man never gave up.
Right.
And now he's a bass fisherman. He was born with no legs, no left arm, and no right hand. And the man can tie his own hooks on. He can do everything that anybody else can do, because he never gave up.
Right.
Don't give up.
Yep.
I mean, you got to strive for stuff. You got to work for stuff.
Yep.
And hopefully during these tournaments, me and Clay cross us paths, and we get
That'd be amazing.
Chat.
Absolutely. Bring him on. Bring him on the show. We'd love to talk to him. Man, that's an inspirational story, if ever there was one. Like, right? Like, what do I have to complain about at this moment? You know, I'm still very lucky, and I know that. I'm very fortunate, as you are. And we got a lot of ALS brothers and sisters out there right now who, unfortunately, are not in our condition. And we're thinking about you. You know, one of the reasons we fight, we fight so hard is for all ALS patients. We could have just gotten in the Nurown trial and hope for the best, but that's just not acceptable. We've got a moment here. We've got a movement. We've got a time to strike. The iron's hot. All these drugs coming forward. What we're doing is we're a race. This is about the clock. We're trying to save as many lives as we can. I mean, the old way of just sitting back and letting other people handle it and waiting for the best is not going to do it anymore. And I think hopefully our movement, no more excuses, I think hopefully we fired that warning shot to say, look, we're not going to sit around. If you're not going to do the right things, people are going to get mad. I saw that old comment earlier that, bees make more honey. Well, not in ALS. They don't. I'm sorry, they don't. They didn't for HIV. Those people were oppressed and discriminated against, and they got tired of it, and they fought back. Within 3 years, they had AZT approved. Guys, the reason that ALS has failed for so long is because there was no activism. Not because there is now, it's because there wasn't any. And when you've got a group of people like us in this group, and everybody that's helped out on this, a very, awesome group, everybody has something to offer. Intelligent people, and people who are good people. That's what they always say about ALS, right? Good people. It always hits a certain type of person. No, there's a time to fight, and that was in the past. And right now, it's just time to take a break. That's all. I mean, there will be more battles. Trust me, there will be. There will be battles for 8662 coming up, and we just cannot sit around and let people push us around anymore. And there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. Like I say many times, this is not what we do. Is not a lifestyle. It's a strategy, and it's gotten us, frankly, it's really revitalized the ALS movement. One congressman said they'd never seen so many letters before, and this battle is far from over. There's other issues in ALS too, like lack of leadership, and as we now see other groups coming in, like I Am ALS, taking over and becoming more prominent. That's all by design. If the big boys aren't gonna do what we want and make these obvious mistakes all the time, then somebody else has to come in, and we will seek to expedite that. We want somebody like a Cystic Fibrosis Foundation who's been just ridiculously successful at what they do, and that's who we need running this disease. And right now it appears to be IMALS kind of taking the lead on that. And we support them and we support others who want to be aggressive. And frankly, the reason that IMALS has done so well is because there's a patient at the top of the food chain. And there's no patients, very few. And how can you run an ALS organization and not involve patients? It's not going to work anymore. Sorry, it's not going to play. I guess that's it. You know, like I said, we're just kind of chatting now. Guys, we're on hold right now. I know we're just waiting to see what happens. Thank you all so much, as usual. And please feel free to drop me a message, and I'll try to get back with it. Obviously, get a lot of messages, and thank you for that too. By the way, I have a feeling good things are coming. This could be our year. We've got to have it. We've got to have these drugs, man. That's it. It's that simple. If the FDA will just give us a chance, that's all we ask. Just give us a chance to fight and save our lives. We cannot have 30-year-old new fathers with new babies being told, sorry, you gotta wait, or you can't have this. That's unacceptable anymore right now. We live in a modern society with a lot of causes, we've seen a lot of causes in the last couple of years, right or wrong, whatever, left and right. But ALS is the one that has got to be automatic. If there's a drug that helps, put it in the body. And eventually, you know what, Thurman, if it doesn't work, if we were wrong about this, which I'm confident we're not, especially about AMX and Nurown, if the FDA will just approve it and give us a chance, these drugs are safe. So you know what? An insurance company loses a few bucks. Who cares? We had a chance. And I really don't think that's the case, because they're already paying $150,000 a year for you know what. And good luck with that, right? So let's go a different direction. Let's try something else, and see what happens. And
the insurance is already paying $3,900 for 2 pieces of plastic I could probably pick up at Walmart.
Great point. They're already blowing money. They don't even know if Nurown could halt progression and 30% of all new ALS patients. Imagine the money that would save, right? I mean, because eventually the price is going to come down. It's not going to be that, experimental price forever. I mean, Radicava is $144,000 a year. I mean, and so I can imagine that would be a target. Dr. Appel said $100,000 a year was his target a while back. So there you go. I mean. All right, guys, that's it. We're just shooting the breeze now. Thank you all so much for watching this series this week. I'll have them all up. They're already up. 4 of them are up. This one will be up later after I edit out some of the crap just playing around. So thanks again for watching. And as always, we'll see you all later. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.